Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great issue for you guys. First things first, I can't believe I'm doing a second Omega run in a week. I've said before, I'm not going to ever do this again, but I didn't do one last week. I was really caught up on books, and I was like, okay, we might as well just go ahead and put it together. That way, we're caught up. We can start working on backlog stuff again and just keep things moving. So, yeah, I decided to just put one together. Recording this Thursday. We'll get it live on Thursday. Record probably wrestling tomorrow on Friday, and then I'm thinking we'll probably record the actual Saturday issue Saturday morning and get that all posted. And then we're back to our regular cadence of maybe one Omega, maybe not, and we'll just kind of keep it moving from there. But you heard it, it's an Omega run, so no other news or anything like that. We just go ahead and dive right into the reviews. And I realize I played the wrong sounder for that one, so let's actually play it for this one. We'll cut that out in post. And so the reviews that we have this week. So if you don't know already, what we do for our reviews here is talk about the book a little bit, on catch you up where the story is at, my thoughts on it. I'll give you the score and where I feel it lands, compare that to League, which is, kind of the main database that we use to just do the comparison with just kind of consensus out there, if you will. And then whether or not you should pick it up. So you're going to have a whole hodgepodge of books here. Some stuff that's recent from literally last week, other stuff that's going to be much older in the backlogs, but be warned, I spoil everything in these reviews, so if you don't want any spoilers, this is just not going to be the podcast for you. Don't really know any other way how to do it, so just kind of keep that in mind. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump right in. I want to make this a little bit of a tighter episode, so I'm hoping we can keep it under 50 minutes, 50, so we'll see. You already know if I do or not, but either way, these are the 10 books. Obviously, if you're on video, you can see everything up here. If you're on audio, I'll just say it out loud for you. We have the Immortal Thor, number 24. Then we have Star Wars, The High Republic, Fear of the Jedi, number 5. Doctor Strange of Asgard, number 4. Dark Honor, number 1. Hornsby and Halo, number 7. The Uncanny X-Men, number 6. This is the start of the backlogs. And then Batman, One Bad Day, Bane. Batman, the Brave and the Bold, number 10, which is our anthology. Miles Morales, Spider-Man, number 16. And Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, number 4, which is the conclusion to that little mini-series. Just a 4-parter there before we start into another reboot of Scarlet Witch, which is going to be like the 2024 version. And then after that, I think they did a Scarlet Witch and Vision book that's going on right now. I didn't end up picking that up because I was like, you did the 2013, you did the 2014, you did the miniseries for Quicksilver. Might as well just take a break on that, see what else that we can go ahead and pick up. So we'll go ahead and start off here with Immortal Thor. For League, I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.3. Really good issue, and this is big spoilers in this one, so you've been warned. And it is a relatively recent book. This came out last week on June 4th. So we're coming towards the end here. It's going to be a 25-part series. This is number 24, and we get the main conclusion, the big finale, the big spoiler, all happens in this issue. So you've been warned. If you don't want to, you can jump out right now. But after all this, calling it Immortal Thor, the wheel keeps turning. It looks like it could potentially be Thor's time. And he has his entire squad with him at this moment, and everyone is basically retreating and pretty beat up at this point. So you have Thor, you have Scourge, you have Hermid, you have Heimdall. Heimdall is basically down and out. Hermid grabs Heimdall, grabs him, and takes him out. And they're all in this, in the Utgard, Loki's realm, basically. And they're in this maze city, and it's like this impossible maze to escape. They just defeated the god of this realm, and now they're looking to make their escape. They do eventually find their way out. Hermid takes out Heimdall, and Scourge wants to stay with Thor. And Thor's like, hey, this is my fight to fight. What you can do is hold the bridge that connects the Utgard area to Asgard. And so Scourge is like, okay, I'll do that. That's fine. And then Thor decides, okay, I'm going to hold the line here. And basically this is going to be my last stand. He's going to fight the horde of all these like kind of just like fodder creatures that have been attacking this whole time. And then there's one other hooded beast or hooded, it's almost like a humanoid butcher type creature that he's going to take on as well. So it's a huge epic fight. They battle back and forth. Thor does get the upper hand and he kills him. And he kills him by calling over, is it Tormod or something like that? But the battle axe basically that he has. And he summons it and it goes through the hooded man as well. And it like just explodes in like all this viscera and blood. Insane scene. So that was pretty cool. So Thor looks like he's won. He's victorious. He's good to go. So he gets back to the bridge. He sees Scourge, sees the others. Surf, who of course can see across all the different realms. She was worried and concerned about him, can see him across the bridge. He's about to go across the bridge, and sure enough, it's Loki who comes from behind and stabs him in the back. It's not even the Utgard Loki. It is like the true Asgardian, well, you know, he's from Jotunheim, but you know what I mean. The true normal Loki that we've been dealing with stabs him in the back, and that is our conclusion. Are you freaking kidding me? Part of me is like, that's so obvious, like come on, it's Loki, but also part of me is like, oh, that's so good. That's exactly what it would be with all the twists and turns that we've had throughout. And is Loki friend? Is he foe? Is he indifferent? Do we trust him? They actually for it's them for the whole series. And I was both happy and both a little disappointed that it ends up being Loki betraying in the end and that Thor didn't die some other way. So we only have one more issue, so I guess it's basically going to be his funeral, and then we're going to have a reboot into the next Thor. I saw in the previews for June, which I think is for September books. Could be for August, but I think it's September books. They're already going to have the reboot for Thor. I'm not going to pick it up. I'm thinking let's try to jump around to some different creators and characters, but I've enjoyed this run all the way up through the end. Obviously not the time to pick up. There's so much other context and different arcs that go throughout, different parts, and all the different characters that we've met along the way. So you definitely want to check some of those things out before you jump into this issue. I'm going to say the same for 25. It's going to be the conclusion, obviously, that you're not going to want to jump in at that time either, but what brings it down is the fact that it was just Loki. It's like, of course, it's obvious. Otherwise, it would have been probably a 4.5 is my thought. But I would have liked it to be a little bit more creative. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the art here. Excellent stuff that we have going, and this series has been great. It's written in a very Norse style, so that theme continues throughout, and you know the last issue I'm sure will be the exact same. You know, a bunch of ads in this book as well, but you know that's just Marvel doing Marvel things. So there's the hooded one, as they call him, Majed, I think it is. Yeah, Mejed. And then Surf, all worried and concerned towards the fight. Boom! Are you kidding me? So Tormod comes like flying through, explodes, and so Thor finally looks victorious, and then boom, the stinger at the end. Loki with the arrow right into Thor's back through the heart. Classic stuff. Classic. So yeah, Immortal Thor. It's been a great run, an incredible run, to be honest. So yeah, sad to see this end. This is like my first. This is 2 years, 24, right? One a month. So this is 2 years in the making, coming to an end, and this is one of the first long series that I could think of that has come to a conclusion. Certainly that's gotten to the 20s. Maybe Invincible Iron Man. You know what? Maybe Invincible Iron Man. I think that got to like 22. So I'm lying, but it's the second longest one, which is cool. So that's Immortal Thor. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. Next on the docket here is Star Wars: The High Republic: Fear of the Jedi, number 4. Go click over here. I just read this one recently. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. I actually thought Lee was going to be a lot lower on this. It basically is a wrap up to everything that's been happening with the Nihil, which are like the big rebels of the High Republic era. We are fighting them off at their last stand on their final planet. We're in space with the rest of the Jedi and folks of the Republic. There's this big old blockade that's taken place. There's this force wielder on the Nihil side that is projecting a whole bunch of visions where people are seeing their worst fears. We've come to see through that through the force. Kiev, who is our main, it's not admiral, it's commander or something like that, of the fleet. And we've come to realize that all the nameless is what they're seeing, and the nameless are these like force eaters and consumers of force wielders. They're actually these drones. So we've seen through that. We know exactly what it is. So now the whole fleet is attacking the drones. That's the big piece of this issue. And these drones are range in size, but one's like enormous, the size of like a cruiser ship, attached to the main ship that Kiev's on. So since they can see through it, they're like, okay, it's attached to the ship. Let's go up through it and bore through and then see if we can disable it that way. So that's what they do. They also realize their message that they've been sending out, try to get reinforcements because they know exactly where they are in space, that they can try to get reinforcements. The message hasn't been getting out. So like, okay, maybe we can use the drone and we can do that the way the Nihil has been connecting to their reinforcements, and we can get ours. So they get in there and they're able to, sure enough, get to the little post area that they need to. They send out a message. They're not sure if it worked or not. As that's happening, the fleet is like shooting all the drones, and it looks like, they're not going to be able to make it. But of course, last second, you have this huge amount of influx of reinforcements, and it is the Republic. They did just make it in time. They wipe out everything else, and you have the main armada of this, the backup, like shooting the main drone while Kiev and like one of our partners are still inside of it. They just get out of it just in time, save the day. On the planet, you hear the Nihil are basically retreating and surrendering, and so it looks like the High Republic has won. So this is the conclusion of Fear of the Jedi, and I think there's one more finale book that's going to be like a big old wrap up across all the different storylines that have been taking place. So that's probably going to be a double size if my hunch is correct. So this is again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. I'd say for this book, it's not the time to jump in. Obviously, it's the finale, and then it's not even time really to jump into the High Republic. So the next finale book that's going to wrap up everything, you're not going to want to jump into that. There probably is going to be a reboot. I do enjoy the High Republic stuff, so we'll just have to see where everything goes. The reason for me that I like the High Republic so much is because we just don't know a lot about it, or at least I don't anyways. Everything is like Skywalker era, and then everything from the movies. High Republic era is just not dealt with a lot. Even Old Republic, I played some of the video games, not KOTOR, but SWOTOR, the MMO. So I know that era. I just don't know High Republic era. That's why I was drawn to it in the first place, just to learn more. But we'll see what the next run ends up being and what they focus on in that era. So again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. Let's show off that art real quick. Good stuff. I'd say kind of classic Marvel. Nothing too crazy here or over the top. But I thought the conclusion was fine. Oh, you also have a segment in here as well where the force wielder that was creating all the visions, she didn't make it, but was basically set free. Here's where the Republic comes in for the save, which is great. All kind of good stuff here. Destroying that enormous drone that was attached to their ship. And they basically go off and save the day. So they're looking good. To be concluded. So yeah, that is Fear of the Jedi, number 5. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. Next up here, back to Asgard. We have Doctor Strange of Asgard, issue number 4. This is a pretty fun book. I'm liking where this is all going. It's Doctor Strange during the one world under Doom. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. It's basically... Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme. Obviously, Doom is, right? And since Doom is the Sorcerer Supreme, grabbing a sip of coffee for the audio listeners. Since Doom is the Sorcerer Supreme, Loki's like, not Loki. I'm looking at the cover and it's Loki. Strange is like, let me go away from Midgard. Let me go to Asgard and I can be the Sorcerer Supreme of Asgard. That's the premise. And Thor's like, no, I don't want you to do that, but talk to Helda, who's one of like the high witches or sorceresses here, and see if she can teach you something or wants that for you. And so at the beginning of this whole issue, She is killed. She's actually killed by Loki, but Loki says he was coerced. It wasn't him who actually did it. And Strange, you had to help me figure this out, because nobody else was in the room. It was Hilda, it was Loki, and it was Strange. And you had a dead Hilda on the ground, and then Loki was like, I didn't do it, and then he vanished, and now it actually looked like Strange did it. So it's this whole trip of like trying to figure out who done it and how do we clear everyone's name. Last issue, the cliffhanger we left off on, are Thor and Surf have found out now that Hilda's dead, and they're confronting Strange. And so he's like, I can't even explain to you what is going on right now. And he doesn't want to put Loki as being framed as well, because there's no way Thor's going to trust Loki out of all the times that they've been betrayed. So Strange just does a whole bunch of spells and basically tries to escape Surf's gaze. Finally gets a moment, and then from that moment then heads back to the Sanctorum, back on Earth, on Midgard. And that's where Loki's been hiding out. So Strange talks to Loki and is like, hey, I know, sorry if you hear the thunder and lightning, we got a storm coming through. He's like, hey, I know that you killed Hilda, but what's like the memory of you doing it? And he explains the memory, and it's different than what actually happened that Strange remembered. So now they're trying to figure out, like, how is that even possible that, okay, you were coerced and you weren't in the right mind, but you have a different memory of what actually unfolded compared to what Strange saw in reality actually happened. So they're trying to piece it together what exactly it was, and they basically go into Loki's mind, like, don't actually go in, but he shows, here's what he saw. And the spell was that it took Loki and put Loki in some other temporary form of reality, implanted the memory of it happening, but the person that did it was a shapeshifter that took the form of Loki, made the kill, got out of the way, and then added Loki back into reality with the memory of doing it, or memory of it happening. So the actual Loki, out of reality, shapeshifter comes in, makes the kill, comes out of reality, actual Loki put back into place. That's the order of operation there. So they're like, okay, well, that actually is a bit of a clue, because now we know what we're going after, some sort of shapeshifter and the specific type of magic and spell that would need to happen. So Strange heads back then to Asgard, and he's pondering, okay, like, what exactly could have done this? They say, magic is so vast, we've only been able to discover X amount. And as he's doing the research back at his hotel, and he's like deep in concentration, someone comes up from behind him with a battle axe that's like about to kill him. So that's the story and the premise. Pretty cool issue. For number 4, I'm on the fence of whether or not you should jump in. I think probably not, but you actually may be okay. So it's a little tough to tell. If that sounded interesting to you and you want to see where it goes, yes. If you're like, maybe not, I'd say no. And it's on the funnier side, like it goes for a comedy bit, and I know comedy is very, very subjective, right? So it can be difficult for to sell that if you like a specific type of comedy. So keep that in mind as well. But with that, let's go ahead and flip into the art here. I've been enjoying the art a lot. I think it's really high detail, high saturation. So from the color perspective, it takes it up a notch then from its standard kind of Marvel. And then the same with the line art itself, the detail, like just looking at the robes and the intricacy on like this battle axe that you have here. It is definitely a higher standard than the typical Marvel book, I would say. So if you're really into it for the art, consider that as well. So here's the part where they're going into Loki's mind, and it's not actually his mind, it's basically playing out in front of them as though it's like a vision that they can see exactly what happened. And so here's where actual Loki was like put in this temporary reality, and then what took place actually here was like this shapeshifter in front of Strange that you had back down here. And it looked like Loki was somehow marked when he was in that temporary stasis, so he like wasn't aware of any of this happening or taking place. So that's when Strange basically goes back. He's trying to commune with these different items, and then the cliffhanger that you have at the very end here. So, yeah, it's a pretty good book. I've been liking it a lot. I just kind of picked it up on a whim, and Doctor Strange of Asgard, that seemed cool to me. Just decided to go ahead and send it, and I did. And it's been a good one for me thus far. So, again, I gave it a 4, Lee gave it a 3.8. And that's Doctor Strange of Asgard, number 4. Next up here we have Dark Honor number 1. So this one is an interesting premise of a book. but maybe not the greatest in execution anyways. So Dark Honor number 1, I gave it a 3.5, Lee gave it a 3.4. So it's a weak number 1, and then basically when you have a weak number 1, it's probably going to be dead in the water, unfortunately. I'm going to stick with it. I may drop it after the next one. We'll see if it picks up or not. This for sure 100% is like someone's COVID dream not come a reality, but like we need to talk about COVID and do something around the time of COVID. That's 60 to 70% of the book is just about COVID and the story that's happening there. And this is the time, like February, March 2020, right? No vaccines. We don't even really know how this thing is transmitted. Lockdown orders, all that stuff is taking place. And so it is prime COVID, right? Where everyone is losing their minds, basically. And the story of this is there's this gang basically taking advantage of everything that's happening and gaining a lot of territory from this other gang. And there seems to be like some sort of rules at play here. So think of a little bit of a John Wick of, here's the way that you would go about doing it. And everyone's trying to figure out, okay, who can we get to go up against this gang? And so basically they recruit this woman here to go ahead and go after her. They know she's really good, but she's in jail right now. So it's like, okay, she's in jail, but it's COVID. So, they were trying to do all the social distancing and all that stuff. And like there's references to that and the 6 feet and masking up and all of that stuff. And like, okay, to thin out the prisons, you've been given like early release. But in actuality, it was the gang that put this all together. And then they're basically recruiting her to go ahead and go after this gang. So it's just setting up that plot. Not a ton of exposition. But you can just tell that they just wanted to do something. They got to do something during the pandemic, damn it. And this is the book that they basically came up with. So that's Dark Honor, number 1. Let's flip over to the art real quick. I read this a while back, so I'm like trying to think, like, from what I recall, nothing too crazy. Interesting on the paneling and kind of the overlapping that you have there. You have the start off of, this gang, like, trying to take more territory, and then our main protagonist here, getting into a fight in prison, and they're like, yep, lucky day, you're getting released. You can see the masks that they have on there. This does take place in New York, so like the middle of Times Square, and there's like no one there. This is Grand Central Station that you have here, and everything that's kind of happening, going down. So yeah, we'll see where it all goes from here, but it's a softer start. We'll see if they can pick it up in issue number 2. So again, that's Dark Honor number 1. I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.4. And then we go into our last of the recent books. That's going to be Hornsby and Halo number 7 from Image. I've been enjoying this one a lot too. It's going to be more on like the kiddie side of things, if you will. Not quite young adult, but also, I don't know, maybe teenager. But not like, kid, like toddlers or like even elementary school. So this book is part of the Ghost Machine universe, if you will, for Image. So that has other stuff like Redcoats in it. The Rockefellers is in that as well. And then there's another one that Geiger, which is I'm not on. But then there's one more that I can't think of, and it's going to bother me if I don't say it. So... oh, and of course, it's not even here. Usually they have a nice little like timeline that shows everything. But anyways, the Ghost Machine stuff. Rook was a part of it too. Man, Rook was so good. But anyways, I've been enjoying it. Lee gave this one a 4.2. I gave it a 4. I actually found more times than not I'm higher than Lee on this book. So it's actually good to see that they're starting to pick back up a little bit. But for this one, we actually do have the start of like a new arc, which is awesome. So both of our protagonists, Rose and Zach, so you can see on the cover here, they are spawns of Heaven and Hell. And Heaven and Hell were fighting, and they basically came up with a compromise of let's take a highborn of each realm and put them on Earth and put them with families that are the opposite of their character. So Zach is the angel, and he's with this terrible, terrible family that just cheats, lies, and steals from people. And then Rose from Hell is put with this incredibly nice family. They donate their time. They own like a Goodwill, like food pantry type deal, and it's like, you know, they're incredible people. And so it's interesting to see, like, okay, how is this going to work, like nature versus nurture type deal. You can tell that was the crux of putting together this story, of they wanted to play with that idea a little bit, nature versus nurture. In the last couple of issues, Zach and Rose have been exposed to who their true nature is. They didn't know up to this point. So now they know, Zach, that he's, you know, highborn, and Rose is, you know, highborn as well, but one of heaven, one of hell, and that, you know, at some point in time, like, these kingdoms are going to be theirs, and they're going to be rulers and high up in these societies. Both of them reject this. They hate the fact that this is even a thing. They just want to go back to Earth and just be regular kids. So the person that takes them through this is called the Adjudicator. So the Adjudicator's whole purpose is to keep this accord, this deal between heaven and hell, intact. So there have been efforts on both sides to try to break this whole thing up, because they want war, they want power, whatever the case may be. They want their influence on Earth. We're not entirely sure. So this next arc, we have two I don't know, worker bees, I don't know, but they seem like they're a little higher. So call it middle management of either side of heaven and hell, and they make a deal with each other. Hey, let's go work together to try to get them back into our realm, so that way we can kind of just continue fighting, because they like the chaos and the anarchy, I guess. And so they both team up, and they grab the Adjudicator. They're basically able to incapacitate him, and they sent him up, which looks like the moon, for him to be at. And Rose and Zach are none the wiser, and just kind of continuing their day to day. So this is the first time where the Adjudicator is like out of the picture, which is going to be interesting to see what is going to happen in issue number 8. Definitely the time to jump in. I think you'd be totally fine. It catches you up on a lot of what I've already explained here. The art is really good. I've been enjoying that. You get both the plays on heaven and hell, so a lot of red, but then also like the ethereal white and blue as well, and that plays off of each other really well. Like the contrast of the two pops off on the page really well, so I like that. And yeah, it's just a fun story just between these two, and it's an interesting concept, and it's not, you know, superhero themed, which is awesome as well. I feel like I don't mention that, and I probably should, because many of these books, obviously from, you know, the big two, are going to be superhero themed, but Image not necessarily. Sometimes yes, but for the most part no. Dark Horse is the same, Oni Press, and so on and so forth, right? Comics are a medium and not just superhero stuff. So this is another example of where it's not. If you're looking for a refresher or a break, or what is something that is not part of the superhero genre, Hornsby and Halo would be a prime example of that. So I've been enjoying it. It would be the time to jump in at number 7. Again, I gave this particular issue a 4, and Lee gave it a 4.2. That's a pretty good score. So maybe go ahead and check this one out if you can find it. Next up here, starting to get into those backlogs, is going to be Uncanny X-Men number 6. And this one, I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.8. I'm actually thinking I'm going to drop this. And the reason is I was going through all the backlogs, and I was like, these are the ones where it's like, okay, I'm like chipping away at it, but I'm actually not enjoying the book. So it's like, okay, let's just think long and hard. And I've mentioned it on other issues, talking about getting to the point of thinking about dropping some stuff. What's the why behind this? Is it trying to collect something? I'm certainly not trying to prove anything to anyone, and I don't feel like there's like this true obligation other than just completing this set, which is a difficult thing for a lot of comic book collectors, of like just trying to be a completionist and grabbing everything. But then you find yourself just reading books that I don't necessarily look forward to reading to, and then I'm putting the effort to put it in the show. So why would I put my energy towards that when we can put it towards things that I'm actually enjoying, right? At the end of the day, this is all a hobby, so it should be really stuff that I like a lot. It's okay to put some of the really terrible stuff on there too, because, you know, that's going to make funny content or whatever, but it doesn't need to be a bunch of it. And anything that's like hanging out in the 3.5s for the most part, unless it's like, okay, it's a short series and we're a couple out, then why am I actually doing it? That doesn't fall into this camp. So thus it checks all the boxes of reasons to drop it. And so I'm thinking about doing that. There are a couple other X-Men that are like that as well. Exceptional X-Men is fine. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not enjoying it like over the top. And I was thinking the same for any of really other longer form ones. So Phoenix, maybe Magic, Storm. Let's work our way through the backlog, and if I really want to go ahead and read them, I can always go to Marvel Unlimited, right? And they'll be there 3 months later, and I can read the story. I just won't have the physical copy in my collection, and I can certainly live with that. So I thought I'd just go through the whole rationale, and there are going to be a bunch of books that start dropping off. I mentioned it last issue, I'll mention it here. I didn't realize the shop will then send you one more issue, and then that'll be your final one, and it lets you know that's going to be your final one. So the thing is, this one, it is a backlog. I think we're on Uncanny, like number 11 or something like that. So there are going to be more books that come out through the next couple of Omegas, the next couple of months that I'll be reviewing. But still, it'll then just be cut off, and it'll be done. And that'll be that. So let's go to this story. We are focusing on the kids now are going to school. And so we learn a lot about the equestrian girl and her horse. And basically the background there is her mother, super rich, high-class family, but was a just terrible Karen to her and didn't let her have any sort of freedom and tried to live like this crazy upper class, one percenter type of lifestyle and all this luxury, but it's like, a golden cage where you're in this incredible home, but you can't do anything, like zero freedom whatsoever. And that is the life that she lived up in. So that's a big part of the story. Then the kids go off to school. Of course, they're getting picked on and things like that. So they're trying to blend in, but at the same time, stand up for themselves. So dealing with that struggle. And then part of Uncanny Avengers, we have Rogue, we have Logan, we have Gambit, and we have Nightcrawler and Jubilee. So it's Nightcrawler and Jubilee who head into town, get some groceries to help out with the hostel that they're staying at, if you want to call it that. And of course, they run into some trouble there. Jubilee is actually attacked while Nightcrawler's trying to help out a woman who's like, kid was almost run over. And when Nightcrawler comes back, Jubilee is gone. And it looks to be like blood on the ground. So that's not good at all. Then on the kids' side, they get into a big fight into the school. And so now it's like potentially going to lead to some trouble. So that's basically the issue. Basically a day in the life type of issue, which I don't mind from time to time. I just don't think that this was the best version of it, unfortunately. So again, I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.8. We'll flip through the art here. Art has been fine, I'd say, for this series. Not the greatest, not the worst. I think the thing that irks me most about this one is it's very texty, right? It's text heavy just for the sake of it. I don't need, and it's not even like exposition. And I forgot the other part that happens in this too is Logan's kind of going through a bit of like PTSD. He's talking about this bottle of booze that he buried and he was supposed to drink it with all his buddies and he's literally the last one alive of all of that. And so, some sad stuff that happens there as well. But that is basically this book here. I think the final piece here is the mansion, which is now controlled by Dr. Ellis, who's part of like an Orcus type of organization there against mutants. Now has firmly her eyes set on the Uncanny X-Men, basically overall. So not the time to really jump in at this one. So I think overall it's really a skip. Again, it's an ongoing series, so maybe check out what's happening right now, but as you can tell, I'm not just super into it. If you need to know what's happening, like this is part of the main storyline between it's X-Men itself, it's Uncanny, and then Exceptional, like the main ones. Then you have to get your X-Men fixed, and you're probably reading it. Otherwise, I'd say you can just go ahead and skip it. So the next one we have Batman One Bad Day Bane, and this is interesting because it's like a different turn on what you would expect. And looks like I didn't rate it. I know for sure I would have given it a 4. So Lee gave it a 4.1. It's not the type of book that you would think. Most of these books are specifically against Batman, and it's exactly that, one bad day, but it's not even one bad day. It's like, could be a couple of days, but it's just focused on one villain and a fight with Batman, one story, and a one-off. This one's not like that at all. So we have Bane, and he's like old and retired and like a pro wrestler, and looks like he's just living out his life. Not on the venom, not on the juice. his house is broken into, and some kid, and the kid does have a vial of venom, and he presents it to Bane. He's like, "Oh my gosh, check it out! I got the juice. You want it? You can be Bane again." And Bane is super pissed off. He's like, "Never again. I'm not gonna any of that stuff." And I thought all this stuff was destroyed. And so Bane's like, "You're gonna tell me exactly where this was manufactured, where you got it, and we're gonna go after those people." And sure enough, they go into a car ride, and they start talking about the history that happened in the past, where Bane actually teamed up with Batman, and they decided we need to get rid of this stuff so nobody can have it. And they basically came to the agreement: we'll team up together, we'll destroy everything. Once we destroy it, we'll go our separate ways. And so they bring him to the place that it's manufactured, and it's a doctor. It's the doctor that was working on the juice way back in the day, has basically continued it and perfected it, in the serum over these years, and he's taking it as well. So they get caught up in this big fight. Bane is losing, and he's like, "Dang, like, I may have to take this juice just to be able to defeat them, but if I do that, then it's going to be like relapsing basically, and I'm not going to be able to do it." The kid, while Bane is like pinned down, is thinking about whether he should take it, and then Bane basically hulks out, doesn't even take it, and hulks out and is able to then get the kid away from the venom so he doesn't take it, and then he takes down the doctor, and they destroy it, and everyone kind of lives happily ever after. So not how I would expect this to go, especially with all the other books and how they've gone. So this is like a very different take on it. Obviously a pro wrestling fan, so the fact that wrestling was in there was pretty good. But, overall it's just a nice, quick, simplistic story that didn't have Batman in there really at all. And it's just mostly all about Bane, which is interesting. So there's a whole collection that you have with all, basically the rogue gallery of Batman anyways. I think it's everyone but Joker. I don't think Joker has one, but you have Bane, you have Riddler, you have Clayface, you have Ra's al Ghul, Catwoman's in there as well. I think Penguin's in there. Mr. Freeze for sure is in there. So it's, kind of the A-listers for the most part, except for maybe the tippity top, because I don't think Penguin's in there, and I don't think Joker's in there. But it's a whole set if you want to get it. The compendium is, I think it's a 10-piece set. It's like $100. You might be able to find it for like $80. Although with tariffs and stuff, who knows? Maybe it goes up. I actually found out comics are mostly manufactured in Canada. So they're mostly in Canada, and then they ship them down here. And they're printed there. But paper is exempt from tariffs. So fortunately, right now, you don't have to worry about that. But that's today. So anyways, we'll flip through the art real quick on this. So most of these have been really good from the art style. This kind of continues the trends. Like, look at the detail, right? From like just the muscles on Bane, just an absolute unit out there doing his thing. This is them going back into history a little bit, and the reason that they needed to stop the concoction in the first place was because of this guy. So that's why they teamed up, which I enjoyed. And this is the crazy doctor and them having to figure out how they're going to stop him. The fight that is on as well, when Bane is basically down and out. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to support. It's just cool stuff that you have here. And that's when it's finally destroyed. Bane nearly dies in the action, but he ends up living. And it's all hunky-dory after that. So good stuff. Good stuff. I enjoyed it. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. So next up here, when we just have 3 more, including this, we have Batman the Brave and the Bold, number 10. So this is our anthology, and I think I gave it a 4. I sure did. Lee gave it a 3.9. And anytime I go through this book, I feel like I always just have to bring up my notes because there's just so many. And this one had 5, actually, yeah. We had Batman, Mother's Day, we had Artemis, we had Nameless, we had Lois Lane, and then we had the cheeseburger. I'd probably just sound like a psycho just saying all this stuff, but yes, that is everything that we have. So the first one is Mother's Day. Starts off with Bruce dropping off an orphan to his orphanage, and the headmaster's there. Seems like she wants nothing to do with him. This was maybe a year ago or 2, and then now suddenly she's Bruce's date. So they go to this gala, they go and they hang out there, but of course some shenanigans go down. There's this vampire that comes in and attacks, and so Batman gets into his getup. He sets up all these depots across the city, gets into his suit, goes to fight off and grab the vampire, but he's not able to fully get a good grasp, and he's kicked to the ground. He's like, crap, I didn't get him. Let me go and head back to the gala. heads back to the gala, and when he's there, he sees this woman who's like this crazy influencer, supermodel, Kardashian-esque, and sees that she was hurt in the attack, so grabs her and gets her into her limo. Paparazzi takes a whole bunch of photos, so the headmaster that he's on a date with is all pissed off and everything, and now wants nothing to do with these. Like, great, screw that up. They go and they do the research on some of the vampire because he's able to get like DNA strands from him, and they kind of trace it back, or they think that it's someone actually at the school, part of the orphanage. It's a kid and is supposed to be on like medication. Maybe he took the medication, maybe he didn't. One of the kids that is there, and I think it's the kid that he dropped off, is the Robin that he's training. So like, okay, Robin, like, investigate this. So they know who the kid is in his room, and he hasn't been around for a while, so they think he could be relapsing, and this was the whole episode that took place, this incident. And then she goes into the room, she looks up, and sure enough, she sees him, and at first he seems fine, but then like he gets all weird, psychoed out, and possessed, and then goes and attacks her. So that's the end of that. Nice little short story, pretty good. Then we have Artemis. So Artemis is... has something to do with Wonder Woman, right? And sorry if you hear that thunder. Storm's coming through. Artemis did something terrible. Not sure what, has a bunch of shame, bunch of guilt. Walking through the desert and is just basically speaking in incoherent words of, I screwed up, I shouldn't have done this, but it's the right thing to do. The guilt it's so burdensome, and all this stuff. She sets down all her gear in the desert. She's bitten by some sort of snake that like poisoned her, and that's the end of that. That was pretty whack. Didn't enjoy that at all, just to be honest. Then we get into Nameless. So Nameless is an interesting one. It's this guy basically finds out he has this disease and crashes out and is like, screw it, I'm going to die anyways. I'm taking down the world with me. So this hero goes in and saves, I don't even know the name of the hero, but he has all of the... basically calling cards of the rogue gallery. So he has Mr. Freeze's like gun. He has the Penguin's umbrella or cane or whatever. He has Scarecrow's fear gas. So he uses all that stuff and he stops the Nameless guy. He's like, well, why did you do this? Like, the system's corrupt. We need to bring it down. We don't need these heroes in capes. We don't need any of these villains with all these names. We can be nameless. And he dies there. But I guess he's passed on this disease or this influence of now you have all these just nameless citizens that are going to take up this mantle, and it's going to cause a whole bunch of chaos throughout the city. Pretty dope, pretty cool. Then we get Lois Lane, the game prologue. So the game here is almost like it's like a riddle game that's universal and throughout the world. Like, figure out what this riddle is, you go and you solve it in the real world, and they're really hard and really difficult, but people have been dying. Like, they're super challenging and like over the top and like kind of freaky. So Lois has a reporter that works for her, and she knows personally as well, go and investigate this. So she investigates it, but she gets caught up into it and gets excited by it as well, and then she actually starts playing the game too and ends up getting her killed. And so now Lois is like, A, feeling guilty, B, has to investigate this as well, and then C, has to like try to be unbiased as possible and still try to like understand what's happening. So that's that story. And then the last one is Batman the Cheeseburger. So it starts off, very short story. Batman, he's dialed in, like he's got everything, all his macros all down, to the gram of here's how much protein to have to keep that optimal performance so he can be Batman and do his thing. Gets called on something. It's Clayface, who's like trying to just eat a cheeseburger, and he's like, you know how difficult it was to keep my body together and not fall apart, and I can't even just enjoy this cheeseburger. And that just makes Batman think, like, is this really all worth it? Sometimes you just got to kick back and enjoy life a little bit, and he enjoys the cheeseburger at the end. Fine, cool, whatever. So that's the book in a nutshell there. I gave the book a 4 again. Lee gave it a 3.9. Brave the Bold, if I was in my dropping era, I would have dropped this, to be honest. It's so hit or miss. I like Tom King's, whatever the Joker series is called. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's not in every book. I would read it just to read that. Other than that, there's not really much. There are a couple that have been okay, but then there are others where it's like, and then this drags on to the next issue, So, but the art's good here, and it's an anthology, so the book's going to be longer. There are no ads, which is pretty cool if you don't like ads for whatever reason. And then this is the cheeseburger one, which is just all in black and white, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's Brave and the Bold. Again, this is all complete, so you have all 20 out there. I haven't been crazy enjoying it, but I've just been kind of getting through it. For whatever reason, my mantra is with this book, like, let's get through the hard pile first. So this is 2 books in one, basically. And so I was like, all right, let's just like power our way through it. So we're halfway now, which is dope. But not sure if the rest are going to be all that great. So that is Batman Brave and the Bold. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. Next, we have Miles Morales, Spider-Man. This is issue number 16. And I've been enjoying Miles Morales. I'd say some are hit or miss, but overall pretty good. We're on like 33 or 34 right now, so keep that in mind. But this takes place during the Gang Wars, which was February, literally Valentine's Day 2024 is when this book came out. So here is the conclusion of what has happened in Gang Wars. So Hobgoblin is our main guy, as you can tell from the cover. He's actually teamed up with Rabble, which is featured in some of the earlier issues. Her whole thing is she didn't get into school. Miles took her spot. She's pissed off about it, but she's really in tune with technology. So they keep fighting, and she has an ability to like connect with electronics and stuff and have a whole bunch of drones. So she upgraded Hobgoblin's technology, and now they're all fighting. Miles is part of this group where Agent Gao, who's like part of law enforcement, doesn't like Miles. I think they're called the Cape Killers, and has them all united together to fight as this like Suicide Squad, basically. And so they are in charge during this whole gang war thing, and they've taken Miles and like, okay, well, you guys need to go after Hobgoblin with Scorpion, and Gust is the new one. But Miss Marvel is there to help out, and then Swift is there too, which is Miles' brother, is there to help as well. So they're fighting Hobgoblin. They are kind of behind the 8 ball because of this technology as well. Then there are these other minor villains that are fighting on the outside of the facility against Scorpion and Gus. Scorpion is just like, hey, Hobgoblin's definitely going to betray you. He's done this in the past, and he'll do it again. So let's just skip the whole part where we fight, and I just convince you right now to join us, and we'll go ahead and fight. And they do. So I actually thought that was pretty funny, even though you could say, like, that's extraordinarily lazy. But I was cool with it, so that was fine. And so, of course, they join in the fight. Rabble actually leaves. He's like, peace, I don't want to be part of this, and I'm actually working for Madame Mask, who then shows up later. And if you've been hearing the reviews on the all-new Venom, that ends up being part of that whole saga, so earlier on this. So she leaves Hobgoblin high and dry. Basically, Hobgoblin is like, I don't have anything else to do, or anything I can do, and he takes one of his bombs and throws it. The whole building explodes, and everyone is able to get out except for Hobgoblin. Looks like he actually may have died in the rubble. So that is the end of it in the conclusion, and Miles is now going to go help out Peter Parker and probably, conclude the Gang Wars piece. So this is the last part of this arc. Again, with Miles, we're on like 33 or something like that, so not the time to jump in. This is the end of this arc, and then we'll go into whatever the next thing is for issue 17, which is going to be totally, completely different if I could guess. So let's flip to the art on this. I've been liking Miles a lot. There's a lot of overlap on the panels. It's a lot of very action-focused, which has always been the case throughout Miles, and it's been consistent for like literally all 16 at this point, and I imagine it's going to stay the same throughout, which is cool. So if you really like an action-focused comic, this is by far and away the one for you, I would say. It's always been that way, which is good. So yeah. That is Miles Morales Spider-Man number 16. And then we'll go into our very final book of the Omega Run, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver number 4. This is the final for this mini-series. I gave this one a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.9. I just felt like A, it was rushed, B, it was pretty lazy, and then C, I just didn't like how it really ended. So, yeah, the series has been fine, but how it ended, I wasn't a big fan of. So the whole crux of this thing is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are working together. And as they're working together, this letter shows up, and it's from Magneto, who has been deceased and is like their adopted father. And they write this letter, and Wanda reads it, and she's like, oh my god, Pietro, Quicksilver, you cannot read this. This is going to destroy you. So she destroys the letter. So Pietro's really pissed off. They go their separate ways. Then they're hunted down. They're attacked by the wizard, and they're called like the 300 or the 400. They're slowly whittled down by each one of them to whatever they're at for right now. But the wizard is kind of like the main guy. They end up back together. Now they're trying to figure out where's the source of the wizard's power. They find it like Bermuda Triangle or something like that in this database submerged underwater. So they're going in there attacking all of that with Vision that's helping them as well. But this whole letter was the start of it. And so now they're fighting Wizard at the final battle. They realize that Wizard's under the influence of like this celestial being as well. But as they're fighting and they're in this underwater thing, Wizard collapses it, like the continental shelf of the Earth, like collapses on this thing. And it looks like, Vision, Wanda, and Pietro are stuck. But there's a little pocket where Pietro is able to get out. And the only way I can best to describe this is like Wanda just realizes like who the F she is. Like she basically is like, oh yeah, I'm the Scarlet Witch. And like she's able to get out as well. That allows Vision then to get out too. And then they start fighting. Vision goes into like this weird portal thing where he actually meets the Celestial. It either touches her or something like that, or like connects and bonds. And then he sees whatever horrors that are to come, but we don't see it as the actual reader. And so Vision then is like kind of like down and out, collapses. And so Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, they work together and they basically defeat the wizard. They get Vision, who's down and out. They bring him back. So that's the end of the conflict. They're the heroes. Whoop-de-doo-da-day. Everyone's good. Then Magneto comes back. So Magneto has been resurrected, and he's basically like, hey, I realized I put out that letter. It was terrible. We basically find out that the letter was like, hey, these two together, if they're to come together, the whole world is going to be destroyed. But like specifically Quicksilver in particular is going to be like the catalyst for it. And, not the worst thing in the world that they could have said, but I guess that was the thing that they were concerned about. And Magneto's like, yeah, I shouldn't have said those words or whatever, but it's true. So you two should really actually be separate. And so Quicksilver and Scarlet at first are like, well, screw you, Magneto. Like, you don't have anything over us. Like, why would you say any of that stuff? We're going to do what we want. But then they think back to it. It's like, yeah, a lot of the time that we are together, there are these like crazy things that happen. So maybe we should just go our separate ways for now. And that's what they decide to do. And that closes it all out. Everyone's like okay with how things have ended. It's fine. Not the greatest. Lee gave a 3.9. That's about standard, but to me, I was like, something was missing here. Something was rushed or didn't quite make sense. I'm showing off the art now for you audio listeners. Art is good. Good blasts. Good fight scene and everything. The wizard dying was cool. Fine. But I can't quite put my finger on what exactly was missing, but it was just something. So you have Magneto showing up here, and then the breakdown, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go off and just do our own thing, basically. So, I don't know. It's the conclusion. Maybe get the trade. I'd say hold off. The full 2023 run was really good. This, not so much. You can probably hold. We'll see what the 2024 run has to bring. I'm interested to see how that's all going to go. So with that, all the books have been reviewed. We've talked through them all. Let's close this bad boy out. I'll give you these books in order again so you can hear them top to bottom in the order we reviewed them. We had The Immortal Thor, number 24. Didn't realize that rhymed, actually. Star Wars The High Republic, Fear of the Jedi, number 5. Doctor Strange of Asgard, number 4. Dark Honor, number 1. Hornsby and Halo, number 7. The Uncanny X-Men, number 6. Batman 1 Bad Day Bane. Batman the Brave and the Bold, number 10. Miles Morales, Spider-Man 16. Finally got that right. And Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, number 4. Those are the books. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. It is much appreciated. Remember, we have our standard issues that go live Saturday, 10 a.m., Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. All the information is in the description. If you're looking into this, you already see all that information there. But I'll call out saturdaymorningcbreview@gmail.com if you want to send an email. Questions, tips, tricks, things you like about the show, things you hate about the show, things you'd like to change about the show, just go ahead and let me know. And then lastly, League of Comic Geeks I'm at Helpful Bailiff. If you are interested to see the books that I've read, what my reviews are and the scores and all that stuff, just kind of a recap on everything, feel free to check that out. Seek me out, follow me, whatever the case may be. So I will go ahead and close it out. I appreciate it again for all of you tuning in. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.